Have you ever found yourself reacting in ways that just, well, they surprise you? Maybe you say something or feel this sudden rush of emotion or behave in a way that feels totally out of character.
Yeah, like something unrecognized is happening sort of behind the scenes.
Exactly. We've all been there. And what you might be experiencing is a psychological defense mechanism.
Right. These unconscious strategies we all develop, really, to shield ourselves from pain that feels unbearable.
And it's not just for people deep in therapy, right? This is fundamental.
Absolutely fundamental. So our deep dive today is really to unpack these hidden mechanisms.
Okay.
Help you recognize them, maybe in yourself, and understand they have this sort of dual nature.
Dual nature.
Yeah.
How so?
Well, sometimes they are necessary, even useful, but often they get really entrenched and they end up preventing real growth or, authentic self-esteem, even getting in the way of meaningful relationships.
Right. So we'll explore why we use them and maybe what it takes to move beyond them.
Exactly, because like that quote from King Lear says, "He hath ever but slenderly known himself." There's often a lot we don't see.
Okay, so let's start with the core conflict. You said they offer a temporary shield, but how do they actually hold us back in the long run?
Well, the main problem is they exclude really important emotional experiences. And that actually diminishes our strength, our ability to cope.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Think about anger. Anger can be incredibly motivating. It might push you to leave a really unhealthy relationship.
Right.
But if a defense mechanism blocks that anger, prevents you from even feeling it properly, well, you just feel stuck, powerless.
That makes sense. It sounds like a lot of difficulties boil down to a few key struggles.
Yeah.
You mentioned 3.
Yeah, 3 sort of universal psychological concerns. First is bearing need and dependency. Just the challenge of relying on others, accepting we need people.
Okay.
Like Brian, who had early abandonment issues. He ended up choosing a woman he felt he could control, even put in surveillance equipment. Or Melissa, from a really chaotic background who became, super clingy and possessive. It's that same root struggle.
Okay, need and dependency. What's the second?
Managing intense emotions. Our capacity to actually tolerate powerful feelings, anger, fear, sadness, you name it.
Like shutting them down.
Or trying to get rid of them. Sharon, for instance, used binging and purging. It was her way to literally try and expel the emotion from her body.
Gosh. And the third one?
That's the struggle around developing self-esteem versus shame. Finding that internal sense of worth versus feeling bad or flawed or full of self-loathing.
Like Sam?
Exactly, Sam. Handsome guy, but his parents were so harsh he felt ugly. So he sought validation in bathhouses, which of course just reinforced the emptiness.
These examples really drive it home. So when we're resisting seeing these patterns in ourselves, how does that resistance show up? Like in conversation?
Oh, you often hear it quite clearly. It's this rejection of ideas that might stir up that old pain.
Is there a telltale phrase?
A classic sign is, well, there might be some truth to that, but that but is often the giveaway. It signals a defense kicking in.
The but. Okay, let's use that as a doorway. Let's talk about some common defenses. How about repression and denial? How do they work?
Well, repression is about actively, though unconsciously, pushing painful feelings or even facts right out of your awareness. It takes constant mental energy.
Like Olivia.
Yeah, Olivia. Her unconscious rage came out as butterfingers, always breaking things, specifically around her husband. The anger was there, just hidden.
And denial. It sounds similar.
Denial is maybe a bit more about refusing to accept reality. It can be helpful temporarily, like with sudden, overwhelming grief.
But not long term.
Right. Extended denial, say about a loss or about needing other people, that becomes really problematic. It often leaks out sideways,
How so?
Things like workaholism or substance abuse, ways to just keep avoiding the underlying truth.
Okay. So sometimes we push feelings down or away. What about when we push them out onto others? Is that projection?
Exactly right. Projection is basically the pot calling the kettle black. We take our own unwanted feelings or traits and attribute them to someone else.
Why do we do that?
It's quite primitive, really. Like a baby screaming, they're evacuating unbearable feelings, making the caregiver feel distressed instead. Think of the stressed boss who just unloads on their employees. It's that dynamic. As the saying goes, shit travels downstream. The feeling gets dumped.
That makes a lot of sense. So it also sounds like we struggle to hold opposite feelings at the same time, especially about people we're close to. Is that splitting?
Yes, precisely. Splitting is that difficulty holding, say, love and hate or good and bad towards the same person simultaneously. It leads to very black and white thinking.
Like with Alexis.
Perfect example.
Wow.
Alexis would cycle through boyfriends. She'd idealize one, put him on a pedestal, but the minute conflict arose or he showed flaws, she couldn't cope.
So she'd just reject him completely.
Totally. She couldn't integrate the good with the bad. You see this kind of all or nothing thinking everywhere, even in politics, right? Things become very polarized.
Definitely. Okay, what about the more intellectual defenses? Intellectualization and rationalization.
Right, using thought to avoid feeling. Rationalization is giving plausible sounding but ultimately untrue reasons for things. Like telling yourself, oh, I needed this new outfit for the party, when actually the hidden motive was maybe to impress an ex who might be there.
Gotcha. And intellectualization.
That's more like Mr. Spock from Star Trek. Using cool, detached, logical thought to keep all messy emotions at bay. It's often a defense against feeling vulnerable or needy.
Okay, so we're starting to see these patterns. If you recognize one in yourself, what's the next step? How do you actually change?
Well, the first thing is realizing you have a choice. Once you're aware of a defense, you face this crucial decision. Do I keep going with the automatic pattern, or do I struggle for something different? And it is a struggle. It's an ongoing process.
Not easy.
Definitely not. But a really powerful tool here is mindfulness.
How does that help specifically?
Just the simple act of returning your attention to your breath, maybe several times a day. It pulls you out of the mental chatter.
And it lets you notice what's actually happening.
Exactly. You start to notice emotions in your body, maybe a tightness in your chest for sadness, or tension in your jaw, signaling anger you weren't aware of.
But then there's this paradox you mentioned. Don't believe everything you feel. Why the skepticism?
Yeah, it's crucial. Because while tuning in is important, the sheer intensity of an emotion can make it feel absolutely undeniably true.
Even if it's part of a defense.
Right. Even if it's actually a defensive reaction playing out. So you need that bit of healthy skepticism to ask, is this feeling purely about now, or is it an old pattern?
Okay. So awareness, choice, mindfulness, skepticism. But ultimately, real change means facing the pain, right? Bearing the pain we've avoided.
That's the heart of it. You have to be willing to feel what the defense was protecting you from.
Can you share an example of that?
Sure. Erica, a client who'd been quite passive for years, finally decided to learn new skills, take charge of her career.
Good for her.
Absolutely. But unexpectedly, she felt this wave of profound grief. Grief for lost time, for opportunities she missed because of her passivity. She had to bear that sadness to move forward.
Wow. And Stan.
Stan always blamed external things when his wife got angry, but when he let down that defense, he had to face the painful truth that, yeah, some of her anger was about him, about the financial strain he contributed to.
That must have been hard.
Incredibly hard. But bearing that truth actually led them to a much deeper connection and understanding. It was necessary.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, maybe the final thought is this. Mental health isn't really about becoming totally free of pain or never using defenses again.
No, not at all. It's much more about developing the capacity, the strength to acknowledge and tolerate the whole messy range of human emotions and needs. The good, the bad, the difficult.
It's about building new habits, maybe.
Yeah.
Healthier ruts of coping.
Exactly. Developing healthier patterns and, crucially, exercising the freedom to choose how you respond to life's challenges.
Rather than letting those old unconscious defenses just run the show.
Precisely. You'll never be fully cured of all pain that's part of being human, but you absolutely can learn to navigate it all with much greater wisdom and authenticity.